Okay, you guys, give me a second. I have something very important to discuss with you today. Okay, so a few major things have happened, and I want you all to understand what's going on. In the event that anything happens to me, that this will be out on the internet. You all know that the guy that I called Mr. Reaper, who used to live upstairs, he just moved out. He's the one that sent me the message that he gave them their money back. And as soon as I got that message, the next day, this guy was moving in upstairs. I told you that they have their people in the maintenance department in Carlton Arms, and I showed you the videos. I showed you the girl with the long blonde hair in Carlton Arms who drove up on their golf cart, and she moved the blue car that Tree tried to kidnap me in. She was working with them. She was in the maintenance department. She gave them the pass keys to everybody's house. Okay, I showed you the video of this. Two women that worked there. Another girl, another blonde, her name was Debbie. She was fired from there also. She's the one I caught with the guy in 212 at 9 o'clock at night doing some kind of business on their golf cart. She was fired also. Tree was hired by Nithyananda to come and kill me. I actually saw the writings when he said, their code word for me was idiot, because I kept calling all of them idiots. And Nithyananda told them, go and pick up idiot. And within a day or so, Tree was in 212. Tree is in the mob. He's a hired hitman. And they all descended on Carlton Arms, apartment 212, 210, 209, 208. Then the guy in 212, after a while, let's not forget Jeremy, who was in apartment 6312. He also attempted to break in my house to try to kill me, because they all had keys to my house until I finally changed the locks. Then I moved out of Carlton Arms. Finally, I was able to afford to move out of there. I moved into apartment 1913 here at Grand Reserve. And the same thing happened. His people were all around me, and his witch was upstairs in 1914. I showed you on my videos the things that these people were doing to me. I took pictures of these people outside my house. Here's one of the things that these people had done. As I was packing my house in the 1900 building to move to this place, the people in, let's see, 1913, 12, they had to be in 1911 on the top floor. This was the guy in there was one of the ones who was hired to attack me. And the girl living with him was, of course, these girls are in on it. Kept walking her dog past my house. This is what all these people do. So they're hiding in plain sight. They're walking dogs. I can't go to the cops and say these people are walking dogs, make them stop. I can't do that. So these people are brutally harassing me. And here's what this girl did. She would walk her dog right on the little bit of grass right in front of my patio and stand there and look right into my patio door to see what I was doing. Meanwhile, behind her, there was about 10 feet of grass where she should have been walking her dog. That day, she did that at least 7 times. And finally, I had enough. And I went out on that patio and I started screaming at this woman. I started screaming at her to get the F away from my house. I've had enough. And what did she do? She called the cops on me. She called the cops on me, told the cop that I was crazy and that I just started yelling at her for no reason. And as a matter of fact, I think it was that Officer Brown that showed up. He was very, very disrespectful. And he said, I know she was telling the truth because she was crying. Really, Dick Tracy? Really, Dick Tracy? I told the guy, do you see that I'm packing my house to try to get away from these people? And I told him she was out right in front of my patio, looking in my patio door all day. And he said, oh, maybe she was actually just looking at her dog. And this is what these cops have been doing this whole time. I'm 64 years old. I think I know when someone is looking through my door. I think I know when someone is looking through my door into my house. But this skank cop said, well, I'm sure she was just probably looking at her dog. He wasn't there. He didn't see the situation. He doesn't know these people. Then I started, now at that time, I believed that these people were his cult followers. And so I was telling him that they're working for Nityananda and they're a part of a satanic cult. And I said, I followed a guru in Hinduism for 5 years. They're a part of a satanic cult. He said, Hinduism is not satanic. And I looked at this guy and I said, you're going to tell me that Hinduism is not satanic? I studied in it for 5 years. Well, I don't know what kind of Hinduism you studied, but Hinduism is not satanic. And then he said, what's a guru? This is the kind of garbage that these low-life cops are doing to me. Then he goes, what's a guru? You don't even know what a guru is, and you're going to tell me that Hinduism is not satanic. And these people, when I tell you that these people are staring in my house, and it's going on all day long, and I've had enough, you're going to tell me that that's not what they're doing? This is what these cops have consistently done to me. So I just had a cop come here now. And I told him, this guy that just moved in upstairs, the Reaper moved out, this guy moves in. Immediately he started hacking into my router, stopping me from watching the cable because I changed the password on my router. Immediately. And then he started banging on my ceiling, as if I'm his prisoner or something. That banging on my ceiling is going to make me do what he wants me to do. Mr. Reaper and I had come to a very good agreement that we both understood that his banging on the ceiling meant nothing to me. And it would not affect the way I did things in my own house. But this animal banging on the floor, and his little 20-year-old whore, she's in on it. So on the 31st, I changed the password and username on my Wi-Fi. I signed out of the Wi-Fi app. They didn't know what the password was. They couldn't get in. And this was after 3 hours of factory resetting the modem and trying to get into my Wi-Fi app because they prevent me from getting into my Wi-Fi app. This was after 3 hours of this. Then I go to put the cable on. They put a message on the screen that there's a problem with your connection. So they're preventing me from watching my television, which is what they always do. So I called the cops. I said, I've had enough of this. I've truly had enough of this. First, I put on my doo-wop music on the DVDs. I said, this guy thinks he's going to stop me from watching television. I put on my DVDs and I put on doo-wop music and I blasted it. He started banging on the floor some more. I blasted it even higher. Then I said, I shut it down. I tried to start my modem again. I tried to start the cable again. Still no cable. I'm still getting that error message. Then I said, I've had enough of this. I'm calling the cops. The cop says to me, you need to call your cable company. I said, I want to file a report against this guy. He said, you need to call your cable company. I said, no, I don't. There's nothing wrong with my cable. This guy is stopping me from being able to use my cable because he has control of my router. And then all of a sudden, as I'm talking to the cop, the TV goes on. I said, you see, they hear that I'm talking to the cops, and now the TV is working. There's nothing wrong with the cable. And I could hear those two upstairs running around like a bunch of rats, I guess trying to get their equipment put away of how they block the signal to my router. Running around like lunatics upstairs, trying to move things around. The cop said he was going to go on his patrol and he would stop by. 2 hours I'm waiting for this cop. I called the Ocala Police Department 3 times. When is this guy coming? Now it's 10 o'clock at night. When is this guy coming? The guy that answered the phone said, I will send him a message to call you at least. He never calls me. He never comes. So now I called this morning again and I said, look, this is consistently happening with this police department and no one is helping me. And I told her what happened with that cop. I wanted to file a police report on this guy. Another cop comes. Immediately, he has the look on his face like he's placating me because I'm just a crazy lunatic and he's just going to placate me. It's the mocking look that they have on their face. They're not taking anything I say seriously. And I said, I want to know what you people have written in your files about me, that every time I call and these cops hear my name, they don't even want to come to my house. They ask me 50 questions on the phone and they don't want to come to my house. You people have got me labeled that I'm crazy. And the guy looked at me with a smirk on his face and he said, we don't have you listed that you're crazy. So to try to make me think that I'm paranoid and I am crazy, and then I tell him, well, there was a female cop here a week or so ago, and she smiled and she shook her head yes when I said that. Now, what is in the file on me? Then he turns around and says, all that's written in the file is that we've made numerous calls to this address, and what we're finding is consistent with schizophrenia. So they haven't labeled me as crazy. Is that right? Is that right? I believe this psychopath cop just tried to gaslight me. This is the guy's license plate for upstairs. One of the videos they sent on my screen this morning. Here's the other thing. This whole entire time, I have had to go through this all alone. The Ocala Police Department has something known as victim services that they had never informed me of. They have never informed me of this service. This is the malware they put on my phone to prevent me from getting into my Wi-Fi app. I have to hit that Optimize Now button so that I can try to get into my Wi-Fi app. I've showed you video of them, how they destroyed my second phone. I've showed you video of this. I've showed you video that I'm unable to stop their call forwarding on my phone. I've showed you video of them harassing me, telling me to turn the microphone access on. This is the truck that came here when the Mr. Reaper still lived upstairs, and they said that the office said that these were contractors coming to paint the place. They brought 5 of those buckets upstairs, and while somebody was still living, they weren't painting anything. That afternoon, they came and they took those buckets out of there. There's his license plate number. This is the guy that came with them. This loser upstairs is now sitting on the steps listening to what I'm saying right now. Hey, dude, I told you not to mess with me. I told you not to mess with me. I also showed you the video that I recorded from Cox. That that green light should not be on. There's nothing plugged in there. There it is. I played the video for you by Cox Complete Care, telling me that the modem is compromised. You know what? The video I showed you of that little green scooter that they left in front of my house for 3 days, it appears to be missing. It appears that they have deleted this from my videos on my phone. So they are absolutely in my phone. But evidently I'm hallucinating and I'm in delusion from these idiot, moron, untrained, corrupt cops. That little scooter is gone. And here was the video from Cox Complete Care. Where the Ethernet cords go, there was a steady green light there, but there was nothing plugged in there. And actually, there was nothing plugged in at all. There were no Ethernet cords plugged into the modem at all. And there was a steady green light in port number 2. And she told me at that time that the modem is compromised. There should be no lights on when there are no Ethernet cords plugged into the modem. Do you have that same information? I'm checking on it right now. Thank you, sir. Just give me a moment to put this in on. If there's no Ethernet cord, the light should be off. Here's the scumbags. Here's the scumbags. But I'm hallucinating and I'm delusional. Here they are. Here they are. But I'm hallucinating and I'm delusional. It looks like they deleted that video with the little green scooter. Now, what was the purpose of them putting that scooter there? I have no idea. I have no idea what the reason is, except that they're child sex traffickers. And they do this just to have me upset because they know that I love children. That video with the scooter is not here, but I know I have it on one of my videos, so I don't know what their game is here. So they are in my phone. They're actually deleting videos from my phone, but I'm delusional and I'm hallucinating. We're going to get a good lesson today on what schizophrenia is. As I told you all, I'm a retired nursing professor. Not only did I teach anatomy and physiology, I taught pathophysiology and microbiology. Dumb is something that I'm not. We're going to get a good lesson on schizophrenia today to show you what kind of inept, untrained, or corrupt cops these people are. These people are getting paid off that they're not investigating this stuff. They're getting paid off because there's no way I'm schizophrenic. I have shown proof of everything that I've said, even so much as the Jesus emblem on my car they ripped off. I'm having persecutory delusions. Is that right? Is that right? We're going to the AI overview. What does the DSM-5, that is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual 5, the 5th edition, what does the DSM-5 say about schizophrenia? Schizophrenia is a chronic mental disorder diagnosed by at least 2 key symptoms: delusions, hallucination, disorganized speech, disorganized chaotic behavior, or negative symptoms present for 1 month with continuous signs for 6 months. Let me ask you, do I have disorganized speech? I've literally cared for patients with schizophrenia. I know exactly what it looks like. Do I have disorganized thinking and disorganized speech? Nope, I run circles around Bible scholars. Do I have delusions? No, I do not have delusions. I've shown you proof of everything that I've ever said. This is why I take pictures of everything. Can I have hallucinations? We've been through this already. Can I have a hallucination when I'm able to take a picture of it? The answer is no. The answer is no. Active symptoms, criterion A, 2 or more of the following for at least 1 month: delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, frequent derailment or incoherence. Is that how I speak and think? Grossly disorganized or chaotic behavior. No, there's no grossly disorganized or chaotic behavior. I'm angry because of what these skank cops are not doing. They're not helping me, and my life is in danger. Negative symptoms, diminished emotional expression or avolition. No, I don't have diminished emotional expression. I cry when I read the Bible. I cry when I think about the Lord. I cry when I see people online understanding what I'm teaching and they make changes to their doctrine. I cry. There's no diminished emotional anything in me. Duration, criterion C. Continuous signs of the disturbance must persist for at least 6 months, including the 1 month active phase. Social occupational dysfunction, criterion B. Significant impairment in work. Well, I work every single day, and I never miss a day of work. I work every single solitary day. I take care of myself. I go food shopping. I cook for myself. I clean my house. I drive myself. No social or occupational dysfunction. Significant impairment in work or interpersonal relationships or self-care. Nope. Exclusion criteria. Schizoaffective disorder and mood disorder with psychotic features must be ruled out, and the disturbance cannot be due to substances or another medical condition. Key changes in DSM-5 versus DSM-4. Subtypes removed. The DSM-5 removed subtypes, e.g. paranoid, disorganized, because they were not stable or helpful for treatment planning. No special requirement for the first-ranked symptoms. Bizarre delusions or special hallucinations are no longer sufficient on their own for diagnosis. Added severity dimensions. Clinicians are encouraged to use a dimensional approach to rate the severity of symptoms. Symptoms of schizophrenia. Positive symptoms, delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech and behavior. I have none of these things. Negative symptoms, diminished emotional expression, none. Avolition, none. Lack of motivation, none. Alogia, poverty of speech, none. Anhedonia, inability to feel pleasure, none. And asociality, none. Cognitive impairment, trouble with focus, memory, and executive function, absolutely none. This loser, child raping, pig junkie wanted to know how I remembered where to go find those videos from 5 years ago. There's nothing wrong with my mind. Prognosis and treatment. While chronic with treatment, many symptoms can be managed. Treatment involves a combination of antipsychotic medications, therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and social support services to manage the condition and prevent relapse. Suicide risk. About 5 to 6% of individuals with schizophrenia die by suicide, and about 20% make attempts, emphasizing the need for monitoring. So I show none of the signs of schizophrenia. And let me tell you one more time. Those people at that blood donation center made a false police report on me from that dirty cop who set me up. They told the cops that I was dangerous and they knew that I had guns. Meanwhile, they knew the whole time what was happening. They knew why I needed the guns, and that dirty cop sold me the guns. Because I said it on my YouTube page that he sold me those guns in the parking lot of that blood donation center. He set me up. They told the cops that I was dangerous, that they were afraid of me, and they knew that I had guns, and that I was seeing demons in the sky. No, I showed them pictures. I showed them pictures. I cannot take a picture of a hallucination. I cannot take a picture of a hallucination. They called the cops. The cops did everything they could to get those guns away from me. She was actually looking on my YouTube videos to try to find a video where I was threatening these people, and there was none. The video right above where she was looking, it says, "There is no vigilantism in Christianity." I told her, what about this video right here? You're just going to skip over that one so you can find one that you want? There is no doubt in my mind. She Baker acted me. She said, because I can see things that she can't. Baker acted me. And there's no doubt in my mind. They told that psychopath doctor to make sure that I was unable to get those guns back. There's no doubt in my mind. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind, because there's no way in heaven, on earth, or in hell that I have schizophrenia. There's no way. I had proof of everything I've ever said out here. And this cop that came here today said to me, well, we need proof of what you're saying. Well, no shit, Sherlock! They obviously don't understand that they're the cops, and they're the ones that are supposed to be doing the investigating, that they're not doing. They have it listed that there were multiple calls to my house and that it's indicative of schizophrenia. Now I want to show you something. Schizophrenia episode. Let's see what it looks like when somebody has schizophrenia. Look at how filthy the house is. She's talking to invisible people there. No doubt it's a demon. Got one more for you. I have these in the description too, so that you all can educate yourselves. So no skank, corrupt police department can do this to you.
Most of us have seen those street people who wander aimlessly day and night, some talking to themselves or to some imagined demon. Well, it turns out that a large percentage of those people on the street are in fact schizophrenic. Schizophrenia, it doesn't mean, as many think, split personality. It's a brain disorder that affects 2 million people in this country alone, with 100,000 new cases diagnosed each year. It begins almost always during late adolescence or early adulthood, leaving many of its victims almost completely out of touch with reality. A recent report by a leading expert on schizophrenia says that almost 40% of the so-called street people in this country are diagnosed schizophrenics, and that nobody cares enough to deal with them as a medical problem. Take the case of Judy, a 42-year-old woman who is also a diagnosed schizophrenic who believes her thoughts are controlled by a computer. She lives day and night on the streets of New York City. A woman from the Midwest who at one time had a bright future. This is where her illness has brought her. Her mother, who prefers not to be identified, knows about her daughter's life on the street.
She'll be walking down the street and she'll talk to herself. And she screams practically all night long. And it's quite heartrending.
There is no cure for schizophrenia, but it can be treated with drugs to control hallucinations and delusions. And some doctors believe that a combination of drugs and talk therapy can help schizophrenics deal with their illness. But far too many people are getting nothing, like Judy. Her mother told us how it all began.
She and I were driving in a car one time, and she said, "You know, Mother," she says, "I think someday I'm going to have to be hospitalized."
But she never did get into the hospital. As Judy became more and more irrational, she became less willing to go in for treatment. And it all came down to getting her committed into a psychiatric hospital. But the problem is that in most states, you can't get someone committed unless it can be proved that he or she is extremely dangerous to self or others. Judy was not violent, so a legal aid attorney claimed that she could not be hospitalized against her will. Her mother remembers that day in court.
She was free and she walked out, and she didn't even know where she was going to go. And what's more, I walked out into the hall. And I said to this lawyer, I said, "Now what's going to happen to Judy?" And she said, "That's not my problem."
And the problem was that there wasn't any place else for Judy to go. And basically she's been in the streets since then.
Oh, yes, getting worse and worse.
Is that me? Am I on the streets? Am I talking to myself in the street? I have the videos in the description so that you can see it. Here's what I'm going to say. I have to tell every single one of you, I've been dealing with these people for 10 years on my own without any help from the corrupt Ocala Police Department. These inept, untrained, corrupt. They've got to be taking money from these people. That's why they're not investigating the trafficking of children. That's why they're not investigating. And I have to live like this. I have to live like this animal upstairs banging on the floor as if I'm going to do what he says. He's got another thing coming. I'm going to train him. I'm going to train him the way I trained Mr. Reaper. Mr. Reaper knew that banging on the floor was useless because I wasn't going to do anything any different. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I have been showing everything that I had, that I've been taking pictures of on my videos for the police because they're watching my videos in the hopes that they were going to do something, that they were going to help me. It is not my job to put out $4,000 for some guy to come in and scan my entire house to find the bugs that they had in this house, the cameras and the listening devices, because they're here. They put a video out on the internet of me from a camera that they planted in Carlton Arms. This is what I am living through. And to have the police department abuse me and assault me this way, they're going to answer for this. They're going to answer for this. I am now going over the police chief. I'm bringing this to Tallahassee. I'm not even going for a lawyer. I'm going right to Tallahassee, and I'm writing the attorney general to investigate this police department because something is not right here. I have not one sign of schizophrenia, not one sign. And this is what they have. I told you, as soon as they heard my name, none of the cops come here. They give me 50 questions over the phone. And I said they have it written down somewhere that I'm a lunatic, that I'm out of my mind. And this cop today would just gaslit me. And he said, well, no, we don't have it written down that you're crazy. Until I said that the female cop came here a week or two ago, and she put a smirk on her face and shook her head yes. Then he said, oh, well, it just says that there were numerous visits to this place and it's consistent with schizophrenia, as if they would know what the hell schizophrenia is. These morons are not trained in mental health. They're not trained in mental health. They need mental health counseling. These psychopaths. They're supposed to be protecting and serving. What are they doing? They're puffing up the criminals. They're puffing up the criminals. That's what they're doing. So now I'm going to tell you guys something. The one thing that this demon, Nithyananda, child raping pig junkie, doesn't like is when I go silent. And that is exactly what's about to happen. I am going silent. I will no longer be posting pictures about what they're doing. However, I will still be taking pictures. But I will no longer be posting them online because there's no corrupt cop in Ocala, Florida that cares about anything these people are doing to me because they're in on it, obviously. Obviously. And this is not paranoia. This is going off the behavior of a supposed police department who doesn't even investigate claims of someone trying to kill me. They don't even investigate the claims. There is no doubt that cop that brought me to the Vines Hospital told them to make that psychiatrist put a diagnosis that I would never get my guns back. And that's what they did, because that psychopath was never allowed back on the unit. After I had a fit in there and I told them that I wanted her investigated. They never let that psychopath back on the unit again. I can't tell you what the Ocala Police Department has put me through. Now I'm getting the Attorney General involved. This police department needs to be investigated. And it is the Attorney General who's been all over the news in Florida with the Sheriff Grady Judd bringing down these sex traffickers. Since the Ocala police doesn't want to do it, the Attorney General will do it. Leave some more scooters on my lawn, you scumbags. Leave some more scooters on my lawn. I told you to leave me alone. I told you to leave me alone. You're going to wish you did. You're going to wish you did. I'm leaving this here. Skanks.